Hi again everybody, this is Michael Leahy. In this video for the App Challenge series, I want to show you how you can use the Web AppBuilder to create custom web applications around your web maps that you create in your ArcGIS Online account. You'll recall that you can do this through ArcGIS Online. When you share your web map and you choose to create a web app, you can access the ArcGIS Online version of the Web AppBuilder. I'll show you what happens when you get started with this. What this does behind the scenes is it creates a new instance of the Web AppBuilder application in your content and launches this builder where you can configure that application. So what you're presented with here are the themes that are available in the ArcGIS Online Web AppBuilder, and these can be chosen to define the general layout and look and feel of your application. Each theme lets you choose the style or the color that's used to display your theme, and provides pre-configured layout options that determine where controls and widgets that you configure with this application are positioned on the page. Each Web AppBuilder application needs to be linked with a web map. Since we shared this from an existing web map in the ArcGIS Online map viewer, that's already configured for us, although we can choose from any other existing web map that we've created or have access to through ArcGIS Online. Now within the theme, we can control the widgets that are presented to the user. So this is the header controller widget, and you'll see this is a container that lets you configure different widgets that will be made accessible in the top bar there. So I can easily add, for example, a simple about widget. And when you add a new widget, you'll be presented with the configuration dialog. In this case, this consists of defining the content that this widget will display to a user when it's opened. And after you've added and configured that widget, you'll see that it's presented live to you in the Builder Preview pane here. And you can interact with that and see how it works. You can also configure the various widgets that are already built into the template that you've chosen. Some of them you can hide or reveal, but they're fixed depending on the template configuration. But you can also add additional widgets from all of the widgets that are available in the ArcGIS Online Web AppBuilder. So if we, for example, want to add a custom bookmark widget, one of the things that we're presented with is the ability to configure default bookmarks that are presented to the user. So you'll need to choose where on the map that bookmark will take them. If you have a thumbnail for that location, you might want to add that here. And that gets saved in the configuration of this widget, which becomes part of your Web AppBuilder application configuration. And you can see and interact with that live in the Builder Preview here. Now as you're working on this, you can also preview this to see what it looks like in different device types. So for example, if you want to know how well this will work in a mobile device, we can choose, for example, one of these phones in the list here and look at this application in layout or portrait mode, and you can see how the theme adapts to the screen size and device type. And all of the widgets work within this framework very well to adapt to the screen size and device that a person is using. Now when you're happy with the configuration of your web map, you can save that, and that becomes accessible from your content in your organization. So you see this web mapping application that I've created here. You can come back to the builder to edit it, or you can view it. And this is the URL that you would share to people so that they can work with the application that you've configured with your web map. Now I'm just going to delete this because while we've created a nice custom application using the Web AppBuilder with ArcGIS Online, one of the things that you're limited from doing are creating your own custom widgets or changing the functionality or behavior of the themes that the ArcGIS Online Web AppBuilder provides you. So what we'll do is we'll head to the ArcGIS for Developers portal again, and we'll find the Web AppBuilder under the Configurable Apps and App Builders menu. And from here we can download the SDK. I've already done this and I've extracted the files to my disk, and we can launch the Web App Builder from this startup batch file. So once this opens up, you'll see that the first thing you're prompted for is a URL to your organizational account. So we can use the ArcGIS Online account associated with our developer's profile. So this is the URL that we'll need to provide. And you'll see you're prompted for an application ID. So for this we need to head to the developers portal, and in the applications area you'll see this page that we skipped over in a previous video, but what I'll do now is I'll actually register a new application. And once we do this, we're actually given the client ID that we need to provide to the Web App Builder. Before I continue, this web application in my profile needs to authorize the Web App Builder at this domain as a valid redirection for using the authentication with ArcGIS Online. So you'll paste the URL here, and once you've done that, you can come back to the Web App Builder and click Continue. If you forget to do that, or if you set up the URL incorrectly, you'll receive an error that indicates you have an invalid redirect. So we'll approve this. So this is ArcGIS Online that approves the Web App Builder running on our machine to use our ArcGIS Online account credentials. So let's get started creating a new web application with the Web App Builder on our machine. You'll see the available templates. Generally, you're likely to use default 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional views. Keep in mind, if you use the 3D scene view template, your application will be working with the JavaScript 4.x API, which enables 3-dimensional views in a web browser. If you're working with the 2-dimensional views, you're likely going to be using the 3.x API. So keep that in mind as you start developing code for your custom applications. You'll need to reference the correct JavaScript API documentation when you get down to the API level. So I'll just pick a default 2D application here. Give a title and description, and click OK. So this will bring us to the same builder view that we saw with ArcGIS Online. So this again gives us access to a set of predefined themes that we can choose to define the layout and configuration of our application. We'll need to associate this with a web map. So I'll choose the same web map I was using with the ArcGIS Online version of the Web App Builder. And again, you can configure widgets the same way you could with the ArcGIS Online Web App Builder. So it works pretty much the same. You can preview your widgets, add them to the map, and configure them the same way you did with the ArcGIS Online Web App Builder. So I'll just quickly add this bookmark. And you have the ability to preview on different platforms, the same as you could with the online version. And then you can save this to your Web App Builder Developer Edition. And as you work on your applications in the Web App Builder, you can access them from the main page here. And in particular, when you're ready to deploy and start working with the source code of a given application that you've created, you can download it here in a zip file. And that will package up all of the components of the theme that you've selected and the widgets that you've configured, and all of the configuration associated with those in a single standalone application. So I'll just unzip this here. I'll quickly rename this folder. and drop this into my web server folder. Now you'll see this application is readily accessible. And it contains the theme, the widgets that I've configured, and all of my options that I've selected, and is connected to the web map that I set up with this application. And now this is actually separate from the Web App Builder itself. This is a built app, and now you can edit the source code with that app to configure it to make it do different things that you need for your application in the app challenge. So what you're likely to want to do is start adding your own custom widgets or tools to work in this environment. So you'll see in the app that you've created, the widgets that are incorporated into the theme and those that you selected in your configuration are packaged in this widgets folder. And you can take a look at the code behind each of these. But if you want to create your own custom widget, what you can do is you can head over to the STEM app in the Web App Builder source files. And if you look in the widgets, you'll find a folder called sample widgets. And in here, there is a custom widget template. So you can take a copy of this and add it to your application widgets. And you can start editing the code behind this widget and include it in your application. So take a look at the documentation on the developer's website for the Web App Builder Developer Edition. In particular, you want to take a look at the developer's overview. And this really gives you a detailed explanation of all of the files and what they do in your application and how you can use them to implement your own custom code and insert it into a Web App Builder application. So you'll need to understand the JavaScript API and put that into context within the framework of the Web App Builder. And you'll see lots of documentation that tells you how to create your own custom widgets and develop them and deploy them into your applications.